All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I would like to offer you the opportunity to come with me, and we'll be in a world of pure imagination.
Are we going to Scotland?
For the episode. Yes, we can do. We'll get to it. I love this story. You know, if you know, you know. And if you don't by the end of the episode, you're gonna.
It's taken the internet by storm for sure. But low key, by the way, one of the best all-time moments in cinema history is that song. For me, anyway. Particularly, looking back at my childhood,
great film.
Absolutely, and Gene Wilder. And you can find the footage online, right, of him doing that, but without the music over it. And it's quite chilling to watch it without the music.
Yes, I've seen it. I've seen it.
But he's still really good.
I know, obviously, quite famously, it was his idea in the film to come out with the cane and then do the forward roll.
Oh, really?
Because he was like, from that moment on, you don't trust this guy. You don't know what's going to happen next.
No.
And that was his input. That was one of his inputs.
Yeah, I can believe it. Apparently, his house is exactly what you'd expect it to be like as well. It's basically like Willy Wonka's house.
Full of kids.
Yeah, stuck and...
children that can't escape.
Yeah.
And tiny little slave servants.
Yeah, that's pretty... That's one of the darker parts of the film no one talks about, is the slave army he has.
Look, it's not without his problems.
Look, sometimes to create wealth, as you know, you need to have unpaid labour.
Yeah, look, if you're going to make money,
I think
you've got to not spend it.
They're volunteers. I think that's the fair way to describe it, isn't it?
Forced volunteers.
Yeah, forced volunteers. Yeah, but to be honest with you, the remake of Willy Wonka,
the Johnny Depp thing.
I'm a big Johnny Depp guy, you know that.
It was weird.
I turned that film off after 20 minutes. It was a Tim Burton film, wasn't it?
Gene Wilder read Roald Dahl and went, this guy is playful, he's fun, he's a little bit kooky and eccentric, but at the core of it,
he's a nice person.
He's a nice guy, just wants to hand over his empire in good hands.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care about business acumen. He wants heart. He wants someone who cares. Johnny Depp read it and was like, he's a paedophile.
Oh, he touches children.
Yeah, that's the kind of vibe.
He's not allowed near schools.
That's from the Johnny Depp one. That's the vibe I got.
This is the first time in 10 years he's been allowed anywhere near children. The restraining order has finally
relaxed.
That is the perfect description of that movie. Plus, it is a Tim Burton movie, so it's just naturally.
Yeah, it's always going to be.
Weird,
it's always going to be odd.
But it annoys me that children are growing up now with that being their Willy Wonka film, having never.
Not for much longer, maybe.
Look, I'm going to call someone out in that film. One of my other favourite moments in that film is the "I've got a golden ticket," but my issue with it is that benefit fraud of a grandfather.
Grandpa Joe, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Grandpa Joe, who hasn't stood in 15 years, but suddenly, as soon as they've got a chance at millions, is just
straight out of the bed.
Up on his feet.
For sure. Listen.
Dancing and singing.
If that was real life, once Charlie had inherited the factory, the Daily Mail and Channel 5 would have run a full thing all over Grandpa Joe.
They'd have lost everything.
Mate, they'd have gone in hard.
No one's buying one.
The son would have been absolutely fucking fuming with him.
Yeah.
Benefits fraud.
And the truth is, Charlie's done nothing wrong. It's just his granddad who's a scumbag.
But they care. I think they'll take him down with it.
The granddad wanted to steal the gobstopper, didn't he? He was like, no, fuck that guy, we're keeping it.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Whereas Charlie was the pure-hearted one, and he doesn't deserve to lose everything because of his scumbag of a grandfather.
In many ways, it's like the reversal of, reversed roles of Captain Tom and his daughter.
Yeah.
Pure, kind-hearted soul.
Yeah, that's the younger person.
There's someone else who's taken advantage.
Yeah.
Pushed unnecessarily.
I still think you're being unfair. I think Captain Tom
on
was
who?
up fraud.
Oh, right, okay.
I just like this running theme I've created that I'm fully on the side of his family.
It's like when mafias make the official head like the fucking oldest guy, and they say, it's out of respect, but it's really because it's like, no, if he goes to prison, he's going to be in there 2 years before he dies. It's no biggie.
No, so we leave him in charge just
officially he can take the rap.
Yeah, the oldest takes over. Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, do you want to talk to? We might as well.
Do you want to jump straight in?
Just jump straight in.
It's one of my favorite. It's my favorite story of the week.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite stories of the year.
Where does it rank in the year for you?
It's up there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're in February, so we've not had many.
Fair. That is true. It doesn't feel like it's only been 2 months.
But it's up there. Let me just throw it out there. I fucking love this story. So, for those of the uninitiated, let me fill you in.
Yeah. So,
an events company in Glasgow, or just a couple of fraudsters posing as an events company in Glasgow, they decided to run a quote-unquote immersive Willy Wonka experience, presumably to try and cash in on the hype of the new Willy Wonka movie that's coming out, right? So they put all their posters over social media. The posters were completely AI generated.
Yeah.
And they painted this wonderful scene. And it was like, oh, wow, that looks amazing. And they also, because it's immersive, they had a script. It was AI written script.
Yeah.
So people pay £40 a ticket, is my understanding of the cost of this thing. They turn up to this warehouse
in Glasgow,
and when they get inside, they don't step into the wonderful world of Willy Wonka.
No.
They step into a warehouse.
Yeah.
They've got
that's got a few decorations.
It's literally like half of its tables. There's a couple of little bits. There's a post, a signpost that says like this way to Ye Old Shop, whatever. Ye Old Shop is a poster on the wall that's just a picture of Ye Old Shop. That's not the only version of that.
No.
There's a really sad looking bouncy castle in one corner. There's the fizzy corner, right, or whatever, the air bubble room.
Yeah, that's the one where you fly, isn't it?
That they were given lemonade to the kids.
Yeah.
About them plastic cups.
Full.
Yeah, it was about a tenth full of the plastic
like
cups,
a
whatever.
Little shot of
yeah.
Of lemonade.
Yeah, I mean, if you were pouring your lemonade into your glass and a little bit spilled out of the side,
yeah.
That's still too much.
They got less than that.
They were also giving them sweets.
Yeah.
They were limited to one jelly bean per child. Now, one of the Oompa Loompas who's gone viral.
Are you one of those greedy children that would have wanted more than one jelly bean?
Absolutely. That one jelly bean
what
barely
do you
wets.
To get for £40?
Barely wets the appetite. One jelly bean.
It barely gets you,
wet,
I mean? Is what you're saying.
It barely gets you wet.
Yeah.
Even 3, you're not warmed up.
No.
But there was an Oompa Loompa that's gone viral because she looks miserable in the photo. But actually, there's another, to her credit, there's another photo that's been released of, a candid, being really good with the kids, being really interactive, engaging, and happy.
It's not the actor's fault.
And she said she was giving them. She said she was giving them 3.
Yeah.
Because she was like, I wasn't meant to, but I'm not going to give a child 1 jelly bean per person. As if 3's any better. But
imagine being the guy that told them, like, guys, by the way, only 1 jelly bean per kid.
Also, I think probably my favourite part of it was that there was a sort of a faux brick wall. Again, just a poster of a brick wall, really, with a standing mirror in front of it.
Yeah.
And the AI script had created a new character for Willy Wonka experience called The Unknown.
Yep.
The Unknown is a really creepy, spooky, evil chocolate maker who lives in the walls.
Yep.
So this thing hid behind the mirror and just jumped out to scare kids.
And genuinely frightened children.
Yeah. The thing is, when you watch it, or when you see clips of it, I feel like the girl, the woman who's playing the Oompa Loompa, I feel like she's like, what a mistake this is. I can't believe this is my life. But then when the kids come round, she gives a shit. She tries. She's like, I'm not going to just because it's shit here, I'm not going to let it ruin it for the kids.
No.
But the guy who plays the Unknown looks like he's given a fucking Oscar-level performance. He has never committed so hard to a role in his life.
I bet you it's the guy who was running the event. He was like, none of them are going to know.
The guys who run the event are nowhere near that event.
No, of course.
I wouldn't want to be in the same country if I'd set that up.
How much money do you reckon they've made from it? Like,
not a lot. They had to give out a lot of refunds.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
At least they've given out refunds.
The actors still had to get paid.
What did you think it was just... Because if it was fraudsters, they wouldn't have given refunds, surely. They'd have just taken the money.
Don't know.
Ran.
I think just naive, stupid opportunistics. I think anyone... And look, I'm bringing my own bias into this. 100%. Anyone who uses AI in that way...
Yeah.
To try and basically cheat a thing... To try and... we want to be creative and entrepreneurial... But we can't be bothered to be creative or entrepreneurial, so we'll just let AI do both for us.
We're going to let a computer do it for us.
They're not the kind of people that should be running events like that.
No.
They're not very bright. They're not very hardworking.
Well, to be honest, like events organising is like a fucking hard thing to do. It's not
to think you can just skip it by using AI is a joke.
Like if anyone watches The Apprentice, the fucking pigs
Oh
ear
my God.
those wankers
It
make of
had
shit.
Apprentice written all over it. That
Yeah,
thing, didn't
100%.
it?
That is a Apprentice level, like semi-final event someone's put on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can imagine the contestants having an argument with each other. Why are you giving out jelly babies? We're not made of money. No, it's okay. I'm limiting it. They're only getting one. You're giving people one jelly, and Nick or Margaret. No, not Margaret anymore, is it? But
No, it's Karen.
Karen sitting in the corner, being like little eye roll and a little note
Claude's
on the pad.
gone as well. Claude's not well.
I saw that.
It's really sad.
By the way, can we do a Rippers
For Dave Myers.
Dave Myers.
Absolutely. It's on my...
Okay, we'll cover it.
We'll get there.
Would you go to the Willy Wonka experience?
Not to that one, no.
If it wasn't £40,
to be honest
and
with
in Glasgow,
having been to Lapland last year, and that's
just any excuse to drop that in.
And it was an expensive event.
I treat my nephew really well. Oh, we take him.
I didn't pay for his ticket.
Yeah, we spend loads of money on him. We take him to Lapland.
I didn't pay for that. My sister paid for him. I'm not claiming.
Think of all those hard-working mums and dads and aunts and uncles who just took their kids to Willy Wonka Land instead.
No, look, they were stupid enough to not look behind the AI posters.
How? By the way, when they get there, do you think they're actually thinking,
surely there's
this could be quite good, or do you think they're actually thinking like, it's a fucking warehouse? I'm going to open the door and it's going to be a warehouse, or do you think they're thinking, no, these lads are going to pull it off?
I think you would. Like,
can we assume it's lads, by the way?
What, that have done this?
Yeah. It doesn't scream woman.
It screams like a couple
Tech
of
bro.
20-year-olds.
Yeah,
do you know
it
what
screams
I mean?
a couple of...
that had a few grand in their pocket.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what we will do? We'll put on an event.
It screams apprentice contestant, but male.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, having been to Lapland last year...
Oh, there you go again.
The effort that like they have to hire like 3,000 people. There's like...
Can I just say, by the way, Santa, another one who uses false volunteers.
Yeah, that's
enough. And they're...
No, but they enjoy making presents.
And they're vertically challenged.
So you
There's
feel
a trend.
doubly sympathetic for
There's
them.
a trend.
What, that small people get abused?
I'm just saying, look, in real life, for sure, black people took the brunt of the slavery trade. But in the fictional world, it's my kind.
It's the small people.
It's my kind that have taken the brunt.
Dwarves are badass in Lord of the Rings, though.
Yeah, I know they're great in all of them, but I'm just saying there's at least 2 examples.
Yeah, of where they're...
Yeah,
fair enough. But no, the effort that has to go into putting events on, to like, clearly it was half-assed. It was like, but the fact they gave refunds makes me think that they just genuinely fucked up, that they must have massively, like, but it's the using AI bit that makes it sound really dodgy. Like, if they'd have taken photos of the warehouse and the setup, and people still chose to pay £40, then more for them, but it's clearly been falsely advertised. So I think they're probably grifters.
I think there's a bit of that in there, isn't there?
Yeah, at the very least, they didn't have the best of intentions.
It was make a quick buck. It was like, as you said, event organising is a really, really hard thing to do. If they really were committed to doing it, they'd have committed to doing it.
It's not a cheap thing to do. Like, there's a lot of outlay to like, and Willy Wonka is like the world that's created just within that. That's not a small feat. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't make a chocolate river. Do you know what I mean?
Actually, I've seen some videos on the internet. You can make a chocolate river.
Not that sort of chocolate river.
No, but not for children. No, not for children.
No, that's more for German people.
That's not for children. Definitely not for children. It's nice. We haven't slagged off a whole group of people for a while, so it's nice to take a swing at the Germans today.
Famously, the Germans love shit, don't they?
I don't know if it's famous that they love it. They've certainly been associated with that type of pornography.
No, but that must mean at some point the Germans were banging. Or do you think that's revenge for World War II that we just started that rumour?
We just started it, yeah, I think.
Like, as soon as it was over, it's like, what can we do to get back at them? Let's make them synonymous with shit and sex. Like, they have to shit on each other to come. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's a fair theory.
I think we solved it. I think Conspiracy Corner solved it yet again.
We are on fire.
We are.
Unlike the entrepreneurs.
No. But no, I mean...
And I'm loathed to call them that.
I feel bad for the kids, Jake, as always.
It's the kiddies. It's the kiddies. It's the kids. Some of them look like they were actually having a fine time, to be perfectly honest with it, in the videos.
Well, yeah, because like you said, I think some of the staff genuinely, like...
cared.
Gave a shit, yeah.
But it was the actors that... Yeah.
But yeah, it's the actors that made it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, some of the stuff, like, looked okay. Like some of the set piece bits I saw in some of the photos.
If you haven't seen it, by the way, please, please, please go on social media or just go on Google and just type in Willy Wonka Glasgow. It will come up.
What
It's
it
brilliant.
looked like was like something a small charity might organise or a community group. Do you know what I mean?
I think we've hit the nail on the head. I think if anyone watches The Apprentice, it looks like something The Apprentice would put together.
Yeah. Have you been watching this season of The Apprentice?
I don't watch The Apprentice, unfortunately, but I know it enough to know that
cringy,
that's
man.
what it is.
So bad. So bad. I don't know how these people get on there, honestly.
Because this is what you've got to remember. And I think this about every talent show we ever watch, anything, any reality show, any even documentary, quote unquote.
Yeah.
They are not making a thing, they're making a TV show. Quiz shows as well.
Yeah.
They're not making a quiz show, they're making a TV show. You know, they're not making a quiz, they're making a show.
Also, it's the show that brought us Katie Hopkins.
Yeah, well.
That was the first thing.
No one's perfect.
Yeah, and like, I actually remember watching it because she was a proper bellend because she won.
I'm so shocked that she was a
won The
bellend.
Apprentice, and at the time it was you got a job worth 250 grand a year.
They stopped that after the bloke packed it in, didn't they? No, they didn't pack it in.
No, what happened was, it's linked to this story. Katie Hopkins refused a job basically because of commitments with her children. She couldn't take the job. Alan Sugar was then fucking fuming because he didn't want the woman that was in the final with her, but because Katie Hopkins couldn't take it, he had no choice but to give her the job legally.
Yeah, and he gave her shitty little rolls through the thing.
Her no job. He just paid her 250 grand a year to sit in an office. She tried suing him over it, and since then they've changed it to a
cash
business
prize
investment
or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's I wanted to talk about it.
And like,
it was great.
Why I feel really sorry for the children of Glasgow is they're already in Glasgow. They've suffered enough, bro. That's lots of people we've gone after in one episode.
Narrowing it down though, I mean,
Germans and Glasgow. I'm never going Glasgow.
Next, if we could just get like a street, you know.
Yeah,
we could work our way down to a street.
It's got to be a famous.
Well,
street,
Downing Street. So let's move on. That obviously they're taking the flat.
It's too easy. Maybe like Portobello Road. That's a famous road. We need to find something out about the people that live there.
Not sure many people. I think it's one of them roads where people do live. I think, but not. It's more shops. I think. I suppose people live above them.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there, though.
Yeah.
These are just my musings and ramblings.
So we might as well, as we've mentioned it already, should we move on to Mr. Dave Myers?
Yeah, I was a bit choked up when I found out.
No, so was I.
Because I'm obviously misinformed, but I thought he was in remission.
I got to be honest with you, I was sort of expecting it, and the reason being is they gave an announcement about his diagnosis of having cancer, but they suddenly started filming again. So I think the assumption from people was that,
like me,
he was in remission. But for me, the fact they then didn't, normally when a celebrity's told you they've got cancer, they would tell you that they're in remission. So because he didn't do that, I took it, and I'd seen footage of him, and they'd become the faces of who's the stock people? Is it?
Nor,
that's the one.
Yeah, they do the ad. You live in our cupboard.
He
that's the
doesn't
punchline.
look well in that advertisement. So straight away, I was like, I think he's gone back to work to earn as much money as possible before.
Yeah,
and I think sadly that's.
And also, like both of them, you can see they genuinely
loved
enjoy
what they
it.
did. Absolutely.
So just squeezing the most out of life.
But no, the cooking shows is like a little guilty pleasure of mine.
Oh yeah, I like it.
And they're definitely up there for me with who I enjoy watching.
They're very likeable. They're very personable. They're very good at communicating.
And they're just nice blokes.
Recipes. Yeah, they're just nice
lovely
blokes.
And
again, you can tell that they
national
like
treasures.
What they do.
I would say
some chefs. You remember last week or the week before when I described some pundits as being like they're trying too hard. They want to be a pundit. It's the same with some chefs, some TV chefs. They want to be a chef. They want to be a thing. But some of them are just like just normal blokes. I mean, I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind James Martin.
James Martin is a smug prick.
I don't have those issues, but for sure, like there's definitely some chefs that are like that TV chef.
Yeah.
But Dave and Tom were never like that.
They're just their chemistry together was always obvious. They clearly cared about one another, and I don't think I'd ever seen an episode of Hairy Bikers that I didn't enjoy.
No,
do you know what I mean? It's just desperately sad that he's passed away.
Yeah, no, it definitely caught me up
and
a
I
bit.
feel for his family, and I feel for Si.
It did make. Do you know what? It did make me think of us though. because obviously we've talked about what would happen if one of us would go.
yeah.
And I was like, poor Si, is he
What
going to
does
be
he
able to
do?
carry on?
I think Si would want him to, genuinely. And like, I know I've joked about I would stop you living on if I was to die, but I genuinely wouldn't do
Not
that.
even carrying on. You'd stop me living.
Yeah, just make sure your life was over. But no, I'd want you to continue podcasting if you wanted to. Do you know what I mean? It'd be
Yeah, likewise.
yeah, like it would be silly not to, and like I think it would be. I don't know whether he'll do it under the guise of
The hairy biker.
yeah, or continue it as the Hairy Bikers and keep it as that name with to honour Dave. But he might decide he wants to do something completely different. And but
I mean, if I was him, or if I was near to him, if Dave was me, I'd sort of be saying, why don't you do a series where you're the hairy biker and and friends or whatever, and you just go around and you get a different celebrity who rides motorbikes every week,
that's not,
and they just come around with you. And
there's only so many times you'll be able to get Ewan McGregor, though. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, okay, but
that's the only famous person I know that rides motorbikes.
There's going to be
or
others.
Or the cast of Sons of Anarchy.
There's going to be others.
One per week.
Slowly work your way through.
Ron Perlman would be a great catch for the hairy bikers. I'm just saying.
But does he? What's his views on food? How does he?
I'm sure he eats.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure that qualifies you for a cooking show.
Why not? James Martin's on cooking show.
I'm just really going for him.
I don't actually really have that. I don't particularly like him.
It's a mild dislike.
It was just the first, like when you were saying like tryhards, he was the first name that popped up, and I think he's actually a decent chef, to be fair, but just not my favourite.
No, fair. You like who you like. You dislike who you dislike.
Yeah. Much prefer a Gordon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Should we do an official?
I think he's worth
rippers to Dave.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.
Well worth it.
Absolutely.
Dave Myers. Gone to the big kitchen in the sky.
Yeah. But no, I thought Si did a really nice tribute online.
Yeah, lovely
as well.
message.
So I like that. But yeah, sad.
Yep.
Have you got anything else you'd like?
I've got a few things. I first of all, I have to mention, because I told you last week after we recorded about a really shit day I'd had at work.
Oh yeah,
and you were like, "Why didn't you tell me?" You're like, "Why didn't you tell me on the podcast?"
Like genuinely, like I remember afterwards just being like, "What?" I don't actually remember what it was now, but I remember being like, "Why the fuck did we just finished recording?" And
like, so I don't work Sundays and I work every other Saturday, just for the context of this story. So I'd been in on the Saturday and then I came in on the Monday. On the Saturday, someone had walked fox shit into one room, and luckily someone else had taken the bulk of clearing that up, but I'd certainly played my role. It wasn't pleasant.
no,
And then on Monday, someone came in and said, "Oh, I think some dogs like had a shit on your thing," and they're like, "It's kind of diarrhea. I don't know, like it's not good. It's not healthy."
no.
And then we were like, "Oh, fuck's sake, okay,
And
we're gonna have to
this was
clear
in
this
the
up."
branch, was it?
This was in the shop, yeah. And we're like, "Oh, fuck, I'm gonna." Luckily, it's like a lot of the shop is stony floored.
Yeah,
So it's like
easy
it's
to
not.
clean.
And it was like, "Oh God, we're gonna have to clean this up and whatever." And then there's these two women who we sort of like quite regular. They came back and they went, "Oh my God!" They were like, "It's not a dog, it's that woman," and pointed at this woman who was walking down with like a long skirt and shit like dripping down her leg onto her shoes, and it was like, that is fucking disgusting. And now when I went in there, like the smell of dog shit is bad. The smell of human excrement is fucking horrendous.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about baby shit. Like you're
So
you're
what did you
changing your
do?
child. Fucking cleared it up.
No, but did you say something to her?
No, yeah, okay, you're right. I'm getting away from myself. So she completely oblivious to the fact that she shit herself. She's just
Do
wandering
you think
around
she was?
as
How
per.
old was she?
I would say like sort of 60s,
So
probably.
not old enough to.
And
really
she had
be
a
that
young chap with her.
inconstant.
And I was like,
Right.
how are you not saying anything? How are you not wanting to get out of here?
Or is it just such a regular occurrence that he's just like, yeah.
But
fill
anyway,
boots,
she carried on
literally.
walking. And then she wanted to come into our till area. And she did go into our till area. And it's like, no, get the fuck out. Like we didn't say get the fuck out, but we were like, look, you've had an accident.
Yeah.
And she sort of went, oh, right. And started to try and wipe it on the mat by the door. And it was like, no, you've got to leave. You cannot be. And then she sort of went halfway down the thing and started to come back up. And it's like, no, go home, straight home.
Was she just like not with it?
I don't know, but she was waiting for the bus at the end when I saw her, and it was like those poor people on that bus are going to have an absolute mare. Oh, so it was like, don't sit down. Please don't sit down on the bus. I know, like, disabilities and stuff, but that's just disgusting.
I'm almost speechless, to be honest. I don't know how I'd react to that. I feel really bad for her because
It's like 2 days back to back of shit for me.
yeah, and it got worse.
So I got a disposable. It wasn't disposable before, but you'll fucking believe that it's disposable now. Dustpan and brush
Yeah,
to get down and sweep up the lumps, and then
Of
just went straight in the bin bag with it. But I got a mask in like a COVID mask. Well, not COVID mask there, but a face mask.
yeah.
Sprayed it with some aftershave. So I was like, I need that smell. I need something there. And even then, as I got down, I was like, "Ugh."
Can you not do the block your nose thing?
No. So what I did was I was like, "Ugh, ugh."
Like I can physically block my nose. Like I could do it now.
I can't do that. I don't
Yeah.
think I can do that.
I think there's limits to what
But
it will limit. Do you know
We
what
like
I mean?
threw we chucked some bleach on it. I got down, scooped it up, was like, and then I was like, took one deep breath and got the rest.
No one's paid enough for that, man.
100%. And then we buckets of water and just cleared it away because at that point there wasn't too much left. We just let it run down into
That's
the corner
not the
with a lot of
first time
bleach.
you've had to deal with shit at work, like human shit either. I remember you telling me about when you worked for another company and someone let their kids shit in a changing room.
Oh, yeah,
because
shit
you
in the
wouldn't let
changing
them
room.
use the toilet.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, with the older woman, I genuinely feel for her because, like,
I did afterwards, but at the time,
no, look,
I
I can
sympathy was low.
Of course, you're dealing with
As I'm
literal
down,
shit.
smelling human excrement,
Right.
my sympathies are very low.
There's days where you're like, I had to deal with a lot of shit today. You literally had to deal
was
with
a
a lot of shit.
It was a literally shitty Monday.
yeah. Oh, on a Monday as well. I bet you were not.
Yeah, Saturday shit.
It's just as well I didn't ask you to do the pod on Monday, innit?
Saturday dog shit.
Because I nearly did.
Fox shit. Go home Sunday. Monday human shit.
You would have been a moody Jake on Monday.
I was not a happy bunch.
No,
I was
I
like,
can
no
imagine.
one gets paid enough for that.
No.
Even the people that technically is
I
their
actually
job,
don't
like,
know
no
if
one
I
gets paid enough.
Oh, I don't know. I have an issue with human poo. Like, it does genuinely.
Thing is, if we didn't clear it up, me and my colleague,
well,
like,
what
who
do you
would?
do?
Who
Yeah,
would?
what do you do? You can't just leave it
We've
there.
just lost part of the building.
Shit.
Literally. Thank you.
Well, I can only apologise. But no, like, I hope that woman's all right as well. Like, because either she's got a genuine problem that she doesn't know that that's
It was
happening.
the bloke that was with her. If she was on her own, it would make so much more sense. But
Yeah.
he's the bit that confuses me. It's like,
Yeah.
how do you not?
And like, I've had an accident at work before when I've been unwell, and
Me
it's
too.
like no one knew, luckily, but it's still a humiliating
Yeah, me too.
experience. And like, I've had accidents at home before, and like, it's not a nice thing. So,
Saying
like, I
that,
hope
actually,
she's all
when I
right.
had my accident at work, I don't think I carried myself with a lot of dignity.
Really,
Or my manager at the time, or he was the assistant, but he was like, I don't know. Later when I came back to work, he was like, I don't know if I'd have been that forward with it, if I'm honest with you.
yeah. Why
Because-
did you tell him?
I said, I'm really not feeling well, and he kind of went, oh, is it bad? Like, how bad are we talking here? And I held up the plastic bag and went, well, my pants are in there.
Oh wow.
I went, there's my underwear.
Yeah. See, in a professional setting, I don't know if I could have done that.
We had a very good
Oh, okay, fair enough.
friendly relationship, so
Yeah.
it wasn't that
No, fair enough.
weird in the context of it.
I just know how high circles you roll in, so they might be.
Well,
put
what
off
can I
that
say?
kind of thing.
What can I say? But yeah, no,
Um,
it was a
But no,
bad
that's
day.
just horrific. man.
Bad day.
That's horrific. That's definitely going to be a clip though. Right. Talking about shit. I wanted to talk about Mason Greenwood quickly.
Sure.
I don't know if you've seen. So Jim Ratcliffe, since taking over Man United, was asked about what he thinks on the Greenwood situation, and all he said was that the decision will be made with fresh eyes. So he won't be clouded by whatever decision's been made in the past. Basically, he's going to make his own decision, I think is what he's implying. I wasn't aware there was really a decision to make, to be
No,
honest with you.
what can he?
Right. We're in this weird situation, right? And I know footballers have been convicted of sexual assault in the past. The first one that comes to mind is Marlon King. I remember watching him play football, like a post coming
Danny
out of
Alves
prison.
very recently.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously he's probably not going to play again, I would have thought. Ched Evans was
Yeah,
convicted.
came down and played in the lower leagues, didn't he?
He was playing in the Championship for Preston.
Was it
afterwards.
Preston?
Yeah, he was in the Championship for Preston.
Did he not have to work his way up though?
Yeah, he did. He did. I think
the first team he
'cause
signed for
as
was
soon as he was released, he was in prison. He was training with Sheffield United because that was the team he was with.
But
before.
they were never going to give him.
Well, no, what happened was they lost a sponsor immediately, and Jessica Ennis-Hill, who they'd named one of the stands after, said, I want you to remove my name off the stand regardless of what happens now. So I know footballers can have a second chance after doing something like that. But I feel like with the Mason Greenwood situation, even though he's not been convicted of anything, we've seen and we've heard the evidence of what he's done,
and we know why he wasn't convicted.
Yeah, absolutely. And but there is a really worrying attitude, and admittedly I've only ever seen it online. I've not heard
They're willing to defend the indefensible.
Yeah, to be well, he's not been convicted, has he? And it's in some situations I can agree with that.
Where we have limited information.
Yeah, and we've not seen the evidence, but I've seen.
I've
the
heard
evidence.
it. I've seen it.
And you don't forget something like that.
No.
So for me, I don't see there's a decision to be made, but I think sadly it's gonna, because apparently Barcelona and Real Madrid want him because he's playing all right for, is it Getafe at the moment?
Yeah. See, I do judge any team that takes him.
Of course.
I know we've 100%. Said football is
100%.
cutthroat, and it is cutthroat, but anyone that puts, the ability to get quote-unquote talent on the pitch above having morals with stuff like that. I'm not just talking about someone's done a bit of fraud or someone's done a bit... I'm not equating crimes to crimes.
He sexually assaulted and beat his partner.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say that on the pod. That's exactly what he did.
For a club to go, yeah, but he's scoring goal. That's just
and everything
not okay.
I've read online says his partner was then pressured even by her own parents to make it go away.
Because of the high-profile nature of it,
so much. And she's now ended up in a situation, and again, it's not uncommon for this to happen for people that have been abused. She's ended up pregnant by her abuser. So what the fuck is she meant to do? Do you know what I mean? How many people in that situation have got the strength when they've got zero support around them to proceed with the case and have him put away? Bearing in mind,
he's got some of the best lawyers, or will have access to some of the best lawyers in the country.
If you're being really cynical, how's she going to provide for her kid? Do you know what I mean? And that's a horrible situation to be in as a person. So I don't judge her for still being.
No, not at all.
But it worries me, the attitude I've seen.
So many complications and nuances to that stuff to abuse victims.
And I think United are going to make a purely business decision because, look, on the field, he's a talented player, is the truth of it. And he was, before all of this, he was seen as one of the biggest future stars for England. I don't think that's ever going to happen now. But he's clearly a talented player, so in a cutthroat world, sadly, teams are going to want him. I just hope it's no team. I hope Palace is never that team for any player that does that sort of thing.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah.
And I, to be honest with you, I don't think that would ever be a problem for Palace. I think we're lucky in the fact we've got...
I think the fans put a lot of pressure on the board and on the club.
But I don't think that's something our board, like Chet Kouyaté, supported someone making a homophobic gesture and they immediately got rid of him. So I don't think that would happen to us. But yeah, just worrying, man.
Can we stick with football? And I'm going to look this up because I want to make sure I get all the facts right, because there is a story. You've probably seen it. So the question is, Hibs away, Hearts player Lawrence Shankland scored a last-minute penalty to make it 1-1.
Okay.
And in the celebrations, he caught an 8 pie that was thrown from the crowd. What kind of pie do you think it is? That's the big question we all want to know.
I saw that video actually this afternoon.
It's great, isn't it?
It's going to be something like a steak and kidney, I reckon.
Yeah, because I'd like it to be a Balti. I like a Balti at the football, but are you getting many Balti pies in Edinburgh? Look, it's a big curry place.
It is.
So you probably are.
And it's a big match. People are well up for it. I thought it was brilliant though. Great.
It was fantastic awareness. I'll tell you what.
It was it might have been even Danny Alves, wasn't it? One of my
the banana.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant.
But I'll tell you what, forget that when they get the buttons and they light up and you do it as a reaction test. Forget all that. sign that man based on that. He just caught a pie
Just
out of
someone you
nowhere,
need to have around
taken
the
a
place.
bite and just chucked it in. So
Just
not
a good
only
time, Charlie, isn't it?
only has he showed you his athletic prowess, but he showed you as a man of the people.
Yeah. But like, look, unfortunately, some people don't like pie eating people. Do you remember that really fat keeper that played for Sutton a couple of years
Wayne
ago?
something.
Yeah, that the poor sod, he ate a pie during the game.
But it turned out it was fraudulent.
Was it?
He'd bet on himself.
Oh no.
There was a betting company. I'm pretty sure. Look, write in and tell
what,
us if
that
we're
bet
wrong.
that he was going
That
to eat
said,
a pie.
will this? Yeah, because they knew he was really fat. They were like, will the camera cut to him? He
Eating
said,
a
will the
pie.
camera cut to him eating? I think it might have just been anything, but yeah, eating a pie. And he'd like, I don't know if he'd done it himself, but through like friends and family, whatever, had staked a large amount of money
Oh, okay.
and then stood next to the thing eating a pie, knowing full well that if he's out
Okay,
there doing
fair
it,
enough.
the camera will
I
catch
retract
him.
my support.
It
for
turned
the
out
fat
to be.
goalkeeper.
I loved it at the time.
Yeah, it was.
I
Brilliant.
loved it, and when it turned out to be fraud, I was like, "That's
We're so naive.
such a disappointment."
Such a cynical world.
I just wanted it to be so. I was like, "Look, he's enjoying himself,
It would have been nicer for it to just
Playing
be
in the
a
cup.
man enjoying his pie.
enjoying a pie at the football. We all enjoy a pie
And
at
look,
the
it's
football.
cold.
I
He
love
sat
a pie at
around
the
doing
football.
nothing. He needs to keep warm.
You know, I absolutely love a pie at the football.
It would have been fine if it was a Bovril. No
Seen
one
that-
would have batted an eye.
Have you seen the other clip? I'm going back a few years, where the bloke's celebrating and he drops his pie into the hood of the person in the seat below him.
Yes.
That's quite a good pie
Yeah,
clip.
yeah. Speaking of like stuff in football going viral, did you see the Astrid Wet thing?
I don't even know if that's a person or a club.
It is a person. Astrid Wet is a OnlyFans model who
Is this the Chelsea thing?
yeah,
They're
who's a
trying to
Chelsea
get a ticket
fan.
for the final, and she's like, "My
and
ticket's
she
fake."
staged this whole
yeah.
thing, but it turns out we didn't know it was staged. No one knew it was staged at the time, although it was quite
Seemed
obvious
pretty
it was
obvious. Yeah,
staged.
it seemed.
That this ran that basically she couldn't get a ticket for the Carabao Cup final between Chelsea and Liverpool, so she reached out online and allegedly this older guy dumped his son to give her a ticket.
He got. How much do you think free subscription he got to our OnlyFans?
Oh, you'd need more
A
than
year?
that. No,
2 years?
You'd need to get laid. Surely, there's no
Oh,
way
I
you're
don't-
dumping your son.
Well,
for
that's
an
what you'd
OnlyFans
sell out for. But these are
subscription.
Chelsea fans.
That's true. The bar's much lower. Just a bag of chips.
I mean, as long as
probably.
she's white, he's all right.
But like the poor
You know,
bloke,
there's no
got
issues for
absolute
him.
dog's abuse because of it, and then obviously it's been revealed that it was fake. And
He doesn't have a son.
well, he might do that. I don't know, but that it wasn't true. But like, obviously, it's
What do you make of it?
I mean, it's a ridiculous thing to do. What concerned me more again was the reaction afterwards, like the amount of people, because she's an OnlyFans model, think it's okay to hurl
Well, I find this as
misogynistic
well.
abuse at her.
That I recently took another little social media break,
Yeah,
and the difference when approaching subjects with people in the real world and online
yeah.
is astronomical.
Do you know what I wonder sometimes? Is that just people are afraid to be honest in person? That people hold back what they would actually say if they're doing it from behind their phone?
No, I think you get caught up. You get whipped up into a sort of a fervour almost when you're online,
Yeah.
and and obviously because of the way the algorithms work, you see one thing and another thing and another thing, and you're like, "This is the worst thing in the world." And then you speak to people online, and it's offline, and they're looking around, they're in the real world, and they're like, "That thing isn't actually that big a
no.
deal." But you know, it's interesting to talk to. I listened to a bit of LBC earlier this week, and they were talking about the fact that young people get most young people get their news
From TikTok.
from online or from
Yeah.
social media. And the question that James O'Brien was asking, he said, "Is that a bad thing? What is it a thing?"
I would argue in today's society when most of the news, and to be honest with you, I don't really trust the BBC anymore.
Here's the thing.
Not to hold anyone to account at the very least. But none of the news organisations out there I would trust
most of them are
implicitly.
biased. Channel 4 at a push probably still.
Yeah, but
Pretty
even
good.
then I probably wouldn't
But
go to Channel 4.
The arguments against it were this. They said one bloke really eloquent, and I was like, "Yeah, I think you're bang on there," because he said, "Well, first of all, like another person pointed out, the media is biased against young people. They very much dislike young people. So why would young people
Engage
and
with
everyone in the media gets in because you have a connection.
it. Yeah.
So most people are not represented by the media.
No.
But the biggest argument was one guy said, my daughter and my mum both get their news from the social media. He said, my daughter knows it's not very reliable.
Yeah.
She knows how the algorithms work, so she knows that if she likes certain things, that will flood her, and that they're not necessarily the most important things in the world.
No.
That's just what she's seeing. He said she knows that, and she knows that if she really is passionate about a
She needs
subject,
to look into
she'll
it.
go and look into it. He said, my mum, on the other hand, doesn't know how the algorithms work. She doesn't know that it's not always reliable. You know, if she sees a thing that looks like it's
She
come
believes
from...
it.
He either said BBC or Sky News, and it doesn't really matter which one, but he's like, you know, if she sees a thing that looks like it comes from one of them, she won't question it.
No.
You know, she'll just take it in.
No.
And she will, because of the way the algorithms work, and she doesn't know this. Because he was talking about, he said the issue with transgender bathrooms. He said, my mum was getting really worked up into it about a thing. She's like, it's such as, and he's like, Mum, you don't even know anyone who's transgender. You've never met anyone who's transgender, and you're unlikely to. He's like, this does not affect your life.
No.
And then she kind of was like, had to think about it and went, no, I guess you're right. She said,
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was a really big deal, but I guess maybe you're not. And he was like, I'm very lucky that I was able to have that conversation with my mum. He said, because a lot of people
I think it seems to be
you know.
something about getting old that, like, the ability to have rational thought.
Yeah, critical thinking.
Yeah, it just seems to vanish. I've had...
You think you know it all?
Like, I don't want to be horrible. I've had things with, like, my own mum where, like, she'll be talk... Like, a subject will come up on the radio and she'll say something and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like... And, like, she watches things like... I think one of the most dangerous things on television is Jeremy Vine.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because if you look at the people he has on, the job he does mediating a debate, he doesn't. He just allows whatever right-wing knobhead is on there to dominate the conversation as much as they want and to just
But do you know why he does
yell
that?
at whoever the left wing... Why?
In my opinion,
why he does it.
Because, and this is beautiful because I can throw it back to... It's
Yeah.
a throwback. It's a throwback. I love a throwback.
Throw it back.
Because they're not discussing the news of the day, they're making a TV show, and he knows that the right-wing views are generally I mean, I don't just mean centre-right, I mean the really right-wing views tend to be a little more controversial. They tend to whip people up into a frenzy more, either agreeing or disagreeing.
The only reason I disagree with that is I don't think the views are controversial for the demographic that watch Jeremy Vine.
But that's the thing.
They agree with it.
If he lets the left take over, he's going to lose half his viewership.
I know, but the problem with that is he's then just creating a television version of Twitter for old people.
Yeah, but that's what he's doing.
They just get fed but
that's what I think he's doing.
Owen Jones is quite a divisive figure, and I don't agree with everything he says, but he's been one of the most vehement supporters of Palestine since everything's happened. And I've watched him go on to Jeremy Vine in good faith to try and have a debate with someone, and he'll get laughed at by the other. And Jeremy Vine will just, and fair enough, you're probably right about his motives, but it makes it such a dangerous things like that, those sort of programs. And then you've got like GB News, which is not a news channel despite having news in its name, and Ofcom's completely fine.
One of the guys at work, he said when he goes around to his dad loves watching Talk TV.
Yeah.
And he says it's hilarious. He said, but the difference is my dad's watching, they're taking it as gospel, and I'm watching it as a comedy.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm watching it as a piece of satire going, this is brilliantly funny.
There seems to be a thing amongst older people that confidence seems to go a long way with them, that someone just being belligerent and willing to just yell someone down seems to go a long way with them. Like people like Anne Whitcomb, I've heard older people be like, oh, she doesn't stand any shit. So yeah, she's also a bit of a scumbag, to be honest with you. She thinks working class people need to work harder and stop moaning and stop paying for Netflix and they'll be able to afford a home and shit like that. And her and her mob thought it was completely acceptable to make absolute tits of themselves in European Parliament.
Oh, with the flag waving.
And all that bollocks. So, but the thing is, like, my mum, bless her, she'll say, like, oh, I like Anne Whitcomb. And then I'll say to her, this is why you shouldn't like Anne Whitcomb. And 9 times out of 10, when I have those moments with my mum, she goes, like like the example you use, she'll go away, she'll think about it, and then she'll go, no, you're right. And
that's where you're lucky. Because
Yeah,
your
that I
mum can
haven't-
do that, will do
absolutely,
that.
absolutely.
She's got enough critical thinking skills. And it's a humility, I think, to be able to go, I might have been wrong there.
Yeah. Well, I think
I'm not always, look, I'm going to throw my hands up.
Yeah.
I'm not always good at it. Sometimes I
No.
get really whipped up into something.
No.
And it's a little bit of a struggle
I won't
for me
have
to
it,
go,
Jay. I will
do you know
not
what? I was
have
wrong.
it.
But I like to think, for the most part, that it is something that I do.
Yeah.
But I'm well aware that there are times where I don't.
Everyone does. Everyone does. And I think there's some things you shouldn't move on, if that makes sense. There's some things I think, whether they are logical necessarily or not, they're right or wrong. Do you know what I mean? There's certain things that shouldn't be. Like a
ceasefire in Israel.
Like
latest news of which, by the way, first of all,
I reckon you're going to steal my stat, aren't you?
No.
No?
Well, first of all, we've got to, I think, give a shout out to the self-immolation of, I think, is it Andy Bushell? The chap who went to outside one of the Israeli...
Oh, was this the guy that set himself on fire that's died? I don't really know anything. I just know a soldier set himself on fire.
Yeah. Well, he was an airman, I think.
Yeah.
Mm.
So is that
because he said, and he shouted before he went, I will no longer be complicit in genocide. Or I can no longer be complicit in genocide.
I think, by my understanding of what genocide is, it's inarguable that that's what's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
The stat that came out today, and this has been confirmed by the Pentagon, is that 25,000 women and children, not including non-male combatants, have been murdered.
And what's really important in that
October
figure,
the 7th.
What's really important in that figure is that Israel have not contested that.
No.
And they are not, it doesn't look like they're going to.
And I was listening to something the other night where someone was trying to dispute the 30,000 figure that's been put out there.
I heard someone.
And it was like, what are we doing? Like, I find it so difficult to engage with any content on it at the moment because just the dishonesty going on. And a lot of people, I hope we look back and learn from this. I really do, because I don't know where this ends. I mean, I'm afraid I know where it ends, and that's what worries me.
Me too.
And it sort of leads me into, I sent you a link yesterday of James O'Brien talking to a Tory councillor. I can't remember where he was from.
Well, just quickly want to say that, but according to Joe Biden in an interview this week, said that he genuinely believes that a ceasefire may happen after the weekend on Monday. He the problem was when he said it, he was obviously at some promo event, and him and his Secret Service member of staff or his aide or whoever were holding massive ice creams, and it really kind of undercut the seriousness of the ceasefire.
Also, it's coming from Joe Biden's mouth, so you have to sort of be careful how seriously you take
ceasefire?
it.
Is that's not the word I meant. Sorry, guys.
Seesaw. So we're all going to go sit on a seesaw.
Extra fire. That's what I was.
We're going to bomb them more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the clip of James O'Brien talking to a Tory councillor, and
Brett something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I want to be really careful because
you don't want to libel. You don't want to be libelous.
No, and I don't want to diminish because I'm not a Jewish man. I'm not of any minority.
No, I see what you mean.
I don't know what it would have been like since October the 7th, and with the IDF's behaviour, the aggression Jewish people, I have no doubt, will have faced from racist, anti-Semitic scumbags. So I really want to be careful not to diminish that. But the man phoned up, James O'Brien, and frankly came across quite unhinged.
For the context, because of 30p Lee has made some Islamophobic comments towards Sadiq Khan.
Yeah.
And his party said, you need to apologise. He didn't.
No.
And then they've suspended him. The questions going on, it was quite funny listening to clips of LBC. I can't remember. I think it might have been James O'Brien. It makes it sound like he's the only one I listen to, but I think it might.
Him and Ollie Duggan sometimes.
I think it might have been him. But they were going around the clips and they were going, it was just all of the Sky and ITV and Channel 4 interviews and whatever going. So you said he needed to apologise, but why did he need to apologise? And they were like, well, look, he was wrong. He's like, but why was he wrong?
Yeah.
And they were like, look, he was wrong. And they just repeated the line. And eventually, after about 3 or 4, look, I've told you he was wrong. at least 3 of the presenters, including Kay Burley, came out and just straight up said,
Yeah.
will you be willing, is it wrong because it's Islamophobic? And they were all like, look, I've already told you that what he said was wrong. They were like, yeah, but no, you said it's wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm asking, why is it wrong?
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is they were having a discussion on Islamophobia on the show.
And just to clarify, 30p Lee's comments, I believe, were along the lines of Sadiq Khan had given control of London over to his Islamic extremist mates. I think was roughly the wording he used. Clearly Islamophobic, clearly disgusting. I've feel for Sadiq Khan in general because I think he gets a lot of hate, and I know ULEZ is incredibly divisive, and my own family are against.
I was going to say, I don't think it's that divisive. I think most people inside London are against it.
Yeah, but that's what I mean by divisive. People don't like it. But I respected the decision because I listened to him talk about it, and he was like, "No one's doing anything," and I think I said it at the time, and he was just like, "So I'm just trying something to try and improve."
Also worth noting that part of the government's funding towards TfL was dependent on Sadiq Khan pushing through ULEZ.
And also, he didn't create it. It was a Boris Johnson creation. People seem to forget.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I feel for him in general. And part of me thinks a lot of the hatred he gets probably is because he's a Muslim man, because he's not white.
Yeah, but this Tory councillor basically phoned up and he went, why are you talking about Islamophobia when you should be talking about anti-Semitism? And the response was, well, we can talk about you both, but right now the comments are in the news, so we're talking about the comments of Islamophobia. A couple of weeks ago, or in the past, we've done phone-ins on anti-Semitism. They're not either or. We can have both conversations.
And I think
but
the point he kept trying to make was basically that because there's less Jewish people in England or in the UK, that it's more of a serious issue, anti-Semitism, because they're more of a minority than Muslims are.
Yeah, it was really weird. He kept banging on about this and then he took a swing at Dawn Butler.
Yeah, but what it kept coming across like that he kept getting exasperated that James O'Brien expected him to back up what he was saying, and like, well,
but not challenge him as well.
Yeah,
where's your evidence?
Yeah, and you could almost picture him like going, "Stop asking me questions I can't answer. Like, stop it."
Yeah, I can't remember one of the things he said.
And then the fact he was stupid enough to actually call out Dawn Butler was fucking stupid. Honestly,
I can't remember what he said. He said something quite early on, and James O'Brien went, but why or whatever? And he went, well, as a Jewish man in the community, he said, no, you've established that.
Yeah.
But what I'm asking you is, why?
Yeah.
And he went, you're not. I've told you, right? I'm here to talk about this. He said, no, I know you're here to talk about this,
but we're talking about this.
But we're talking about this. So why are you bringing up? But then, Dawn Butler. He was like, Dawn Butler. He's like, name a sitting MP, and he said Jeremy Corbyn. I think he said, and he was like, no. He said Keir Starmer kicked him out of the party. He said it might have been a delayed response. It might not have been immediate, but he said, he has dealt with that anti-Semitism thing.
You can't argue with the and it was a question I was going to ask you, like, because in PMQs again, Rishi Sunak's trying to tar Starmer with the anti-Semitic brush, so to speak. I don't think you can. Like, he's rooted out a lot. I'm not saying the Labour Party's cured of anti-Semitism. No. I'm sure it's not. But he's fucking kicked a lot of people out of that party, including the previous leader.
Well, I wouldn't be against coming on to PMQs after this. But he was asked, name a sitting MP
in the Labour Party that's
and he went, okay, he said, anyone in the Labour Party.
He
said, no, anyone, name someone. And he went, well, Dawn Butler. And then he went, okay, evidence. And he went, well, all the things she said. He's like what?
Yeah.
And he went,
well, I haven't got it up now, have I?
And he's like, well, you can't just, that's very libelous. Yeah, you can't just call someone out and not back it up.
If you watch the video clip, you see it in James's face, like he's actually said someone's name. Do you know what I mean? Like, what an idiot. But yeah, and like, what worries me is that man's a politician. But do you know what I mean?
What I found fascinating was that he said, I'm always fascinated by calling people who phone in. I'm always fascinated. And I don't just mean Mystery Hour. Yeah. Because that's a different ball game.
That's different radio.
But people who phone into debates, who get so enraged and feel the need to call up on things that don't concern them, they're my favourites.
Yeah.
It baffles me. But he was like, he said, you stop trying to back me into a corner. It's like, mate, you backed yourself into this corner.
Yeah.
I've listened to the call.
Yeah.
And okay, look, we know I'm left wing.
Yeah.
But I'm not being biased with this thing. He backs himself into the corner.
Do you
he
think
uses
James
the
O'Brien
words.
was harsh with him at all? Because I know that's one of the things he doesn't tend to give people a lot of room to breathe.
No,
when
because
these
what I
things
will
happen.
say is, normally, and I think I've said this before, my big criticism of is the person might actually get to that point if you let them talk.
You need to let
But
not
bloke-
everyone's as concise and
This bloke, you could tell from he was never going to get to the point that James was challenging him on, because he came on with a pre-planned speech
of I'm going to shame them for
and
talking
he just wanted to
about-
get back to it. So every time he was like, he had an opportunity to speak, he just went back to the same start. And it was the same words that he'd start with. He so clearly had a pre-made point, and he's like, that's what I'm going to go with.
This is what I'm going to shame James O'Brien and his listeners for talking about Muslims when they should be talking about
Jews.
Yeah.
And especially the thing at the start when he kept talking about from the land to the sea,
the river
or whatever,
to the
the
sea.
river to the sea.
I know that's an anti-Semitic thing to say, but James O'Brien said to him, "But you're fine when."
But Benjamin Yahu's using it,
and he basically was like,
"Yeah," and he's like, "No," he's like, "Look," and he's like, "Maybe he is, and maybe some members of the minister are," and it's like, "No, but you're using it as this thing of like it's pure innocent." But literally, the leader of the Jewish country, and the ruling party in the Jewish country, are using that phrase.
Yeah.
So
And
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you
genocide as
can use it in this. Yeah. So I don't know if you can combat it in the same way,
No.
or take issue with it in the same way, unless at the same time you come out and you condemn the ruling party, which he wasn't willing to do. This Tory councillor.
Which, to be honest with you, I can't really understand why, as a Jew that's not living in Israel, I can understand if you're living in Israel why it would be difficult to publicly call out quite a violent regime. But when you're not there, I can't understand. I can only assume that it's because he doesn't disagree with what's taking place.
Again, it's quite worrying the amount of people that have come out and supported what Israel are doing.
Yeah, that they're defending themselves.
But
we've gone so far past the point of defence, it's unreal.
I've spoken to a number of Jewish people in, this has been going on a few months now, this particular section of the conflict, if that's what we want to use it. I've spoken to a number of Jewish people, and genuinely, of the ones I've spoken to, and I'm not just saying, obviously I've got a closed spot. Yeah, they are.
Look, sadly, you are going to get nasty people of all denominations. It's not exclusive to...
But like our country, it's when they're in charge that's the problem.
And you know what? It did make me go like, oh, well, so anyone can be a politician. And I know it sounds ridiculous with the standard of politicians we've had.
When you're younger, you think you have to be...
and even up until, I would say recently, I never thought I had the capability of being a politician. But when you see... I'm not that I want to, by the way, but like you see, I could probably do a better job than someone like him. Because if that's his approach to this, that's his approach to everything.
Yeah.
To just throw your toys out the pram and not be capable. He's clearly not capable of having a debate. He's got a preconceived notion of, this is what I think, this is how I feel, and it doesn't matter what anyone says to me. And you're not going to get any change from people like that. But no, it was just, I felt it worried, that part of me is like, how many other people are like that out there? Do you know what I mean? And I know we can't, it's an unknown answer, but it definitely concerned him. What was the other thing we were going to talk about as we were talking about that? You were like, we'll talk about...
Oh, PMQs.
Yeah.
So PMQs is an interesting line of approach from Keir Starmer to go after the Nigel Farage thing. Well, Liz Truss and going after the Nigel Farage thing, because it's a very interesting thing. Two things it says to me. I don't think either of them came across well in PMQs, by the way. I just want to make that very clear. I listened to it.
Rishi Sunak came across a bit desperate.
Well, I don't think either of them came across that. But Keir Starmer, it did two things by going after the Nigel Farage and going, are you going to let Nigel Farage stand at the Tory party? Are you going to let him back into your party? One, he finally said, and I think it's been a criticism that we've had of him of trying to pander to too many people. Yeah. He's finally said, I don't want you as voters. He said, I don't want you guys as voters.
Which was quite a big thing to do, actually.
And it's backed, it starting to back Rishi Sunak into a corner of it's like, you've either now got to associate yourself with them and accept that the far right have taken over your party, or distance yourself from them.
And look, up until this moment, Rishi Sunak through inaction, and the thing is, I don't actually think he's as right wing as Suella Braverman, 30p Lee, and those sort of people, but he's
very passive to their
allowed
force.
He allowed Suella Braverman to do things that were borderline criminal, to be honest with you.
I would say actual criminal,
Yeah.
according to the International Court of
100%.
Human Rights.
So he has put as much gasoline on the fire as anyone by inaction and spinelessness. So when his response to these things is to just throw Jeremy Corbyn out there again, it's part of the reason why I wish more people watched PMQs, because occasionally real questions are asked, but you never get real answers. And it's an important thing to watch because it stops letting the wall being pulled over your eyes, because when you see Rishi Sunak's response to a genuine question is that sort of shit, you know he's not someone you can rely upon or believe in. And it also allows you to see what Starmer's like. And it wasn't his best PMQs, but I would say in the last couple of months, he's definitely improved.
He has improved recently. Like I said, the one this week, I don't think either of them came out looking that good.
I think he's from what I've heard, he's changed his backroom team, so to speak, like the people that are doing
his advisors,
his speeches, his questions for PMQs, the people writing his jokes, even because his jokes never landed before, but in the last few months he's got quite a good reaction from some of his jokes. So the rumour around is that basically he's had a bit of a mix-up and he's trying to go for it a bit more as much as Sir Keir Starmer can.
Yeah, fair enough. Sticking with politics,
yeah.
I want to throw under you the Trump.
The Trump? What's Trump done now?
Quoted recently. He was seemed to be quite outraged that some states, and I'm quoting him here now, some states allow mothers to carry their babies, to have their babies as late as 9 months, and that needs to stop.
What?
Yeah, he thinks that states shouldn't be allowing mothers to give birth at 9 months. I don't know whether he thinks it's too late or too early. I genuinely don't know.
But that's his
Nothing
issue.
about it makes sense, but he came out and he was like, all these mums having their kids at 9 months, okay, that's
You know
stupid.
what
We got to make that illegal.
He doesn't want the woman's body being ruined. Do you know what I mean? He wants...
Thing is, when you
thick
grab them by the
fingers.
pussy, if they've had a kid, there's, it's
Well,
a
if they've had a
gaping hole.
C-section, then it's absolutely
Your
fine.
hand could just go.
If you have a C-section at 7 months, you've got a perfectly fully formed baby and a perfectly fully formed vagina.
What I like about this is that we've done Germany, Glasgow, and now I'm doing just having a go at women.
I don't think you're at... Oh, look. I think most women
Mothers.
that have had
I'm having a go at
children
mothers.
would be honest with you and say that afterwards there's some
not
issues
always
down there
pleasant.
sometimes. It's not... Look, honestly, women have to go through a fucking ordeal with
Oh my
childbirth.
God. And just in life.
Yeah, like, we have... Like, we're not... If you're ever around women... Like, I grew up with 2 women in the house, so, like, what women go through month on month isn't lost on me. So, like, I've always had a level of sympathy, and, like, we have a much better end of the deal in terms
Without
of
doubt.
what we go through. Like, we get better looking as we get older. They go through the menopause.
We do.
They carry the children. We get to fuck off if we want to.
We watch the children from the pub.
Yeah. So, like, we get paid better, it seems. Do you know what I mean?
Everything works out in our favour.
We run the world.
I can go out at night.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't.
Like, genuinely, I don't feel like I'm going to be killed or raped in most situations.
No. Like, and I don't have to worry about being in a cab with a man.
I can leave my drink and go for a piss. And
Yeah.
at most, when I come back, it's going to have a fag butt in it.
Yeah. I'm not worried about getting... Yeah, so, like, fucking women, man. Poor fuckers.
They are poor fuckers.
They
They
They deserve better.
there are many occasions where I'm genuinely
So
glad
start
I'm a man
treating
in the
them
world.
better, Jake.
Oh, well, now you're asking a
Stop
lot.
beating them.
I can have sympathy for them, but I can't change my habit of a lifetime.
A really random one.
Yeah.
Prince Harry just lost his appeal over the Home Office refusing to pay for any security for him and Meghan.
Yes.
And the general consensus, I would say, from the general public, from what I've seen, or at least online, and like the narrative in the media is one of fuck him, basically, of like, well, you chose to leave, so fuck off then. Why should you get protected? My argument to that, and I'm curious to see what you say, is, and I know we've been sympathetic.
Are we discussing
towards-
royals? I'm
are.
used to having biscuits when we discuss royals. I
Sadly,
feel
there
like
was
quite
no coronation
quite
or
unprepared.
anything for me to.
no biscuits, no
I
crown.
haven't asked you to close your eyes in ages, have I?
You haven't.
On
air or off air.
But the general consensus is one of, like, he should fuck off. My issue with it is, for example, like, he was born into the royal family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he never gets to escape that, regardless of whether he's a serving royal or not. He's still Prince. He'll always be Prince Harry.
Yeah.
His children are
in line to the throne. They're in the succession
100%.
line. Yeah.
So then they're
Line
not
of succession.
out of the life. They may not be serving royals, but they're not out of the life. He can't ever leave it. And we quite we will be paying for Liz Truss's security and her transport for the rest of her life for 35 days work or whatever it was.
45, I think.
Whatever, yeah. So like for just over a month and a half.
Oh no, you're
work.
right. It might have been less than a month.
Yeah, I think it was just over a month, like a month and a week maybe. So for just over a month's work, she will get transport and security pay. And to be honest with you, she should, because
she's at a great risk having held that position.
Just having been Prime Minister, like Tony Blair, borderline war criminal, yes, we should have to protect him, because it's not a good look if a terrorist group gets a hold of one of your ex-Prime Ministers and chops their head off. Do you know what I mean? So it wouldn't be a good look if that happened with Prince Harry. And it baffles me that someone who served in our military, looked after his wife, and the only reason he's not still in the royal family is because they made an environment so inhospitable that he had no option. And bearing in mind, he lost his mum to the same shit. Like,
uncle who's a nonce.
And he's fine. Do you know what I mean? We'll pay 2 mil or whatever, or 10, 12 mil, whatever it was, to keep the woman quiet. We won't pay for Prince Harry's security. For me, that says everything. The royal family should be paying for it. We should.
It's an interesting one. Where I know obviously the sources of the funds are different, but where Prince Harry's like, I'd really rather like to be alive. If I could just not
I'd
die.
like to keep my kids
and
alive
like,
and my wife alive.
And then like, I'd like to fly, but life shit, mate. Tough luck. And then whereas meanwhile, Andrew comes in, he's like, damn it, fucked another team. Sorry guys, get the money out. And they're like, oh,
fine.
Count the cash.
Yeah.
This guy.
We'll have to sell a few assets.
Harry, are you still here?
Yeah, can you just fuck off now, mate? How dare you offer to help with your dad being unwell? Fuck off, man. Go back to America. It's just really weird. And like the attitude.
I think it's as long as Andrew's there.
The worse.
I know I keep bringing it to Andrew, but as long as Andrew's an active part of the royal family, it just makes the Harry stuff completely inexcusable.
And
like
me,
it's just not a thing.
The argument over what Meghan's like as a person is fucking irrelevant. Like whether you like her or not is completely irrelevant to this situation. I don't really understand why people dislike her. I get she comes off a bit aloof and a little bit stuck up at times, but in general, I think she seems like a nice person. I think she got into a situation.
She's American. She's got her faults.
Well, yeah, she can't help that though.
No, exactly.
But yeah, I don't understand it. I think it's people have taken him snubbing the royal family as the snubbing the people.
Yeah,
and I think anyone who cares about people should be able to understand why he's made the decision he's made.
Even if you made the right or wrong decision, if your intentions are to protect your wife and child, I don't think that's. But we shouldn't be.
For me, maybe it's because I try to be empathetic.
I'm well aware.
Put yourself in someone's shoes, don't you? Like, how would I feel if I was him?
I'm well aware that people say the criticism is that they went away wanting a quiet life and then went and did interviews and stuff. I'm well aware that that's criticism.
My counter argument to that, because like me and Leanne have had this debate. She doesn't dislike Prince Harry or Meghan. She dislikes the fact they've sold their story since. My argument has always been, if you're cut off, he can't go. What job's he going to do? She can't go back to being an actress now. What have they got to make money? They've got their story, sadly, and like, yeah, it might be a bit murky, morally questionable, but like, if it's between that and keeping your family safe, I don't understand what anyone else in that situation, I think, would do the same thing. In my opinion, I would.
I'm with you.
So yeah, poor Harry and Meghan.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think we should be paying for their security.
Something else came up this week, and it's just occurred to me, and I was like, what was that? What was that? I was very shocked this week, and I'm about to say something that
I know I shouldn't have
genuinely
sent you that photo.
never thought I'm going to say.
I did apologise. I think you should move on.
First of all, I mean, have you spoken to a doctor?
What about how big it is?
Just there's a couple of things on there I think are
I
questionable.
told you it's just a mole. It's fine.
I mean, the fact that you had to send it in like 3 separate messages.
And that lady eventually separated herself from it.
Oh, listen, I'm well aware of the troubles you have.
It's a blessing and a curse.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
But
What shocks
I'm
you?
about to say something that I never thought I'd say. I read an article by and agreed with
Oh, I think I know what you're about to say.
Jacob Rees
Yeah.
Mogg. Actually made sense.
He was a human being.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. This is about Shamima Begum, isn't it?
Shamima Begum, who the court upheld their decision to
withdraw her
allow her
citizenship.
to have her citizenship withdrawn, and Jacob Rees-Mogg, of all people,
that should
the
never be
Victorian
allowed to happen.
Phantom, came out and said it's cowardly by the British people to
Yeah.
not take responsibility. He said it's wrong. He said that if someone's got one citizenship, he said they're almost like you're forced to take care of them.
Yeah.
He said, but if someone's got 2 citizenships, what happens is exactly what's happened to her, where both countries go, no,
We don't
not
want her."
our problems. The other one can have her, and they're left in limbo. And when we've spoken before about the Shamima Begum thing, we've both been on that wavelength. I never thought I'd see Jacob Rees-Mogg also on that
No,
wavelength.
it was surprising. But like, I don't understand how you can do that to someone. Like, she is British. She was born here.
And groomed, like she was a child.
That seems
She
to
was
be
a
completely
teenager.
removed from the like. And the thing is, we've said before, we're not saying she should be brought back home, given a lovely house,
No, she can still
given
face
money to live on.
consequences.
Keep her in prison until the day you think she's safe to be released. That's fine. If that means she's in prison the rest of her life, it's unfortunate, but that's the situation we're in. But you don't take away her citizenship.
No, don't leave her in that limbo.
No, and it sets a dangerous precedent. That's the issue with all of these things, and we come back to it quite often. When these things happen,
When they happen once, they're going to happen again.
absolutely. And I think at the core of some of these issues is constant underinvestment. Like, we don't want to talk about how did a young girl get radicalised and get over there and how did that happen, because that means we've got to have an honest conversation about the issues in our country, that there's underserved communities of people that are desperate.
And it does, in a way, it comes back to Islamophobia, doesn't it?
Yeah. And we don't want to have those conversations. We don't want to have a conversation about the fact that a lot of people in this country don't like how diverse the country is, and that there are people that aren't white in this country.
Is this a case of is this a case of a broken clock being right twice a day, or is this a case of him actually showing that he's got a human side?
Probably a bit of both. Like, I don't think that should be
Controversial.
a weird stance for a conservative to have.
It is though, isn't
about
it?
That's like a nationalism thing, isn't it? Like, if you're born here, you are British, and like when someone commits a crime abroad, usually we bring them back over to face justice. So, and she has committed a crime, but she was also trafficked, abused, radicalised, and all of that. So she needs not just to face justice, but help.
Mm-hmm.
And like, the whole point of a criminal justice system is to do both of those things, to punish and rehabilitate. And like, I just feel desperately sad for her, and I don't agree with the fact she went over there, but when you add in that she was groomed and radicalised, you can't. I don't necessarily hold her responsible for that, and I certainly don't think she should have her. And it's a nice surprise to have someone like
And it's one of those.
See, I think it'll be the only time we ever praise
For her,
Jacob
it's one of those
Rees-Mogg.
situations where the idea of it and the ideal of it is great, but when she got out there, it was like, oh shit! Like,
Yeah.
particularly with ISIS holding the values that they hold and trying to fulfill an idea of Islam that they are trying to fulfill.
Yeah.
She was a second-class citizen, and she was never prepared for that. She was never sold that image. She was never sold that dream.
No. And like, again, it comes down to just being human. Like, how would you feel if that was your daughter? If your daughter got radicalised, and like, it's feasible. Like, it isn't an issue that's exclusive to brown people or to non-white people.
She's the one, her radicalisation might take her to Syria or wherever, but your kid could get radicalised by
Well, we know
Nazi
people are being
ideology.
radicalised in this country, in Islam, in Nazi, in all sorts of things. So yeah, I have a bit of fucking compassion, and we're not saying she needs to be put up in lavish accommodation, but let her come fucking home for God's sake.
She's our responsibility,
and it's worrying that the courts upheld it. I can't. I think I need to.
The thing is, the court.
I
haven't read the report because it's quite a long report, but I've read the judge's summary, and the judge did make a point of saying, "I'm not going to get this." It's not a direct quote, but the sentiment of saying, "Look, please remember that we are not asked to judge this case on anything other than the legal facts that are presented to us. Was it an illegal upholding?
Yeah."
We're not asked to judge it on basically saying
whether it's right or wrong.
We're not asked to pass a moral judgment, a legal judgment. That's all we're asked to pass, and I think that is a relatively fair point to ask because that's all they were tasked with.
Yeah.
Did it break any laws as far as they can see? No.
It's just a frightening thing to happen to anyone, and
should we end on something happier?
Yeah, I don't know if I've got much happier though. We've done. Oh, they're remaking Naked Gun.
Yes, with Liam Neeson.
Yeah, I'm sort of on board with that. And
I'm not.
I sort of am. I liked Naked Gun when I was younger. I didn't understand.
It's a great film. Doesn't need remaking.
No,
I don't like this idea of remaking. No, but I don't like the idea of remaking. If a film had potential and was shit, remake it by all means. And try and make it into what it is.
But look, they're not making anything
Naked Gun was not good.
I'm taking what I
it was
get,
not bad.
I like Liam Neeson. I like Naked Gun.
And he'll be fine in it. You know, if you're not sure Liam Neeson's comic prowess, just watch him in.
That's been doing the rounds. A clip of him in Extras.
Not Extras. It's Life's Too Short.
Oh, that's the one.
But yeah, his whole thing of we'll do some improv, and he's like, well, that's not a backstory agreed upon.
Yeah.
I contracted full-blown AIDS from an African prostitute. He's phenomenal in it.
I think he's great. I
love that clip when he's like. He's like, when I was Oscar Schindler, I made you've got to have something to drop on there. Like, ha! He's like, why are you laughing?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, the list thing. And he's like, yeah, that's why I got the role. Because I made the list. That's what I just said. Kind of thing. It's like, yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, dry as fuck.
Yeah. And when Ricky Gervais goes, he's like, I'm coming into the shop. Ring, he's like, we're closed. He's like, I think you've got to be open for the sketch to work. I don't think it really, the whole thing.
Yeah. And I think he was like, you're a hypochondriac and you're coming to the doctor. It's like, oh, not you again.
Yeah, he's like,
we've never met. It's like, but you're a hypochondriac. So you've probably been to the doctors before. He's like, oh, we didn't agree.
Yeah, that's not a backstory agreed upon.
Brilliant. So no, I'm all right with it. I don't like
the
they're not making anything original, bro. So we just got to take.
No, but that's the problem. That's what problem. I'm not just going to take scraps.
I was listening to something the other day actually on that. Like one of the main reasons they don't make anything original is because DVDs and Blu-rays sales.
Yeah, Matt Damon speaks really articulately on that on Hot Ones.
Where he was like, because that follow-up money is because like
you didn't have to make all your money.
For example, it didn't go to cinema. Or I don't think it did.
No, it did. Initially it had a limited release,
but it then did so well and then exploded on DVD and Blu-ray. And without that second explosion,
you've got to make half your money on the thing,
yeah,
and then you can make the rest on home sales.
So without that, the streaming obviously doesn't bring in anywhere near as much money because it's advertising.
No, the business model is not good. The business model doesn't work.
Which is like, to be honest, why the Spotify deals have like massively changed. Like Joe Rogan signed a new deal with them because before, basically over the course of his first deal, it's estimated if it all went well, he probably made around 500 million, basically. And what they've done now, it's like a revenue sharing thing. So he's on everything now. They've paid him a guaranteed amount, which has been unspecified. It's rumoured it's probably going to be around 150 again. But then he'll only make money on top of that if they recoup the 150 million through ad sales. So they will now control all of his adverts, so he doesn't have to do any of that anymore. They're going to distribute the podcast everywhere for him. So they've taken some of the work off of him.
But it's in the interest, I've spoken about it on here before, we have the Netflix business model doesn't work. It's a money losing business.
Loses money.
And that's why it's fascinating that all the other networks, if you want, decided that they were going to follow that business model. And it was like, boys, hold steady because Netflix ain't going to last. If you play hardball with Netflix, they'll collapse.
Yeah.
because they are not financially viable.
Blockbuster nearly beat Netflix at the beginning of it all. It was only because Blockbuster had a shitty investor that fucked the whole thing up because he wanted more money out of the company that Blockbuster ended up going under and like basically coming out of the streaming wars, and Netflix then continued to explode. But Netflix were like 2 years from going bust at the time.
But their streaming model is a loss-leading model.
The problem
it's
is it's what the people want now, isn't it? The people.
It
I
is
don't
what
want
the
to
people
go
want.
back to watching
But the
Blu-rays and DVDs.
The danger of it is that we're now in a position where
the
business is driving
worse.
driving down a certain path.
Yeah, like we're stuck with just Marvel movies.
Like the fact
and
is,
remakes.
Netflix, the cost of it's going up. The content of the stuff they're putting out there is not as good.
dwindling.
The good shows are sparse. And the thing is,
look-
Netflix fucked themselves. I know we've said this before. I've said that a lot today. We've said this before. We're just treading over old ground.
That's fine.
The whole episode. But Netflix, when they do a good show, you know it's not going to get a second series. So
No,
why
it's
would you
quite
invest in it?
Yeah, like stuff like Marco Polo. It was such a good
Kids
series.
know that,
It got
not
two
well.
series and it was done.
Young people who are your
Um,
main audience, they are like for streaming. They know that.
Yeah,
So they're not going to invest in a show if they know there's
No,
not going
that's
to be a
true.
satisfying conclusion.
that's true. And that's the thing. Like their aim, from what I've looked into, is that they want it exclusive Netflix content. But you can't do that if you're cancelling everything. And the problem is because nothing can live up to what they need it to be to bring enough money in.
Plus, with streaming, a lot of what people watch, and I am saying
It's
this
the old
anecdote.
stuff.
Well, I was going to say I am saying this anecdotally. I don't have any data in front of me.
No,
But
I think it's pretty
People
well established.
people watch comfort shows.
Yeah,
That's what people want to do. They want to go and watch The Office or
yeah.
trying to think what other big comfort shows
we
there
have less
are.
time than we ever have before. And if you're going to sit down and watch
Friends
something,
or whatever.
I used to love watching new stuff. I'm so less willing to watch
But
new
it's
stuff now
disappointed
because
to-
it's shit most of the time. Do you know what I mean? It's very rare I come across something now where I'm like, oh, this is cool.
I wait for something to be out a couple of years
Yeah.
before I give it a go, so people can basically, because when something comes up, everyone's like, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
a month later, they're like, oh, yeah, it was all right. Like,
Yeah.
I want it to last a bit before I decide to invest
No,
in
I
it.
get that.
But yeah, it's an interesting discussion to be had because everyone's trying to
I don't
model
know- I
themselves
don't know
on
where
a
it-
loss-leading model.
Where it ends up going, because the people aren't going to want to go back to how consuming
Also-
was done before, but they also can't afford to keep.
But it's funny, isn't it?
delivering
Because
what
also
they're
streaming,
delivering.
a lot of streaming services are going back to weekly releases. So they're kind of going back to the TV model anyway.
Yeah,
And then on top of that, the other thing that I think is bad for the movie industry, I know inflation, cost, everything's gone up, but like every movie's budget is like fucking $200-300 million now. It's like,
yeah,
why not just give them a budget? I know half of a movie's budget, minimum half, more normally, is on advertising.
Yeah.
But they don't call it advertising, they call it like R&A or something.
yeah.
But why not just give them a more reasonable budget, try and make something decent, and basically you're trying to make art rather than trying to because how can you
It's
recoup?
not how business works.
But
though,
how
is
can
it?
you recoup your
That's
loss?
the answer.
But you're staking this. How can you recoup the? You put £300 million into this, or dollars, $250 million, which means you've got to recoup realistically three or $400 million to break even on it.
Yeah, but the problem is
You're setting yourself a high target from the
no
off.
business wants small wins, though, do they?
No,
They
but you're
don't.
setting yourself a high target
No,
from the off. You're
100%.
setting yourself.
But they're going for home run after home run after home run. They're not going for like it's
Safe players.
yeah. They're just not doing it.
They're not going for first
No,
base.
unless they're gonna make. They think they're gonna make a lot of money off of it. And what's made a lot of money in the last 10 years is superhero movies. And
No, and I
remakes.
get it, but I think, like you said, I think a lot of the new stuff that's come out it's suffered from it.
Oh, 100%.
There's still good stuff coming
And
out.
like-
don't get me wrong. There's still good films being made.
I
and
think the
released,
last
but-
year or so has been difficult as well because we had the writers' strikes and things like that. So the content coming out has dried up for
Mhm.
quite a while. It's starting to improve again now. But I think we're going to keep running into that issue because streaming's not going to go away. And the deal for the writers and the people creating the content is only going to get worse. So they're going to want more money. So I think we're going to keep running into the same issues.
Do you think there'll be another strike?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, it might be 5
Because
years down the line.
The
but
way business goes, as we know, is that they push for profit, and when they get the profit, they want to hold on to it. So they're not gonna if they make an extra 20% this year, they're not gonna go, oh, do you know what we should do?
No, of course
Let's give
not.
2% of that to the writers. Because if they did, the ridiculous thing is, if they did that,
The content might be decent.
they would have happy writers. The writers would be like, oh, okay, well, they're sharing the profit then, aren't they? So
There's more incentive to make a good show.
100%.
Yeah.
But if you pay peanuts, and I'm sure.
Yeah, pay peanuts, get peanuts. We know that.
Yeah. So yeah, I've. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think we're going to see a lot of. I think Amazon's going to be fine because I know they've put
It's
a lot
not
of
their
money
main
into,
income though.
It's not their main income. Netflix, I think it's probably doomed. I don't know when that happens, but I think it will happen.
No, every year
the more they put their price up,
Yeah,
and the more the quality goes down, the more people are going to cancel their subscriptions.
I genuinely like the next price hike. I was properly about cancelling it. I really thought about it.
I'm going to downgrade mine actually.
Yeah, I'm downgrading my Disney.
Yeah.
Because they tried automatically putting me on the middle level, and I was like, no, I don't. Okay. I'm perfectly happy with the bottom basic.
I'm not paying the extra on Amazon.
Or the top. No, they tried to put me on the top level, and I'm like, I don't want the premium stuff. I don't need it.
No.
And Netflix, one of those things. The last price hike, I was like, I don't like it, but it's fine. I'm still getting this one. I was like, I don't know if I'm getting enough out of it to
the thing
pay
is,
that.
I watch a lot more YouTube than I do Netflix, and the price for YouTube Premium to have no ads is the same price as Netflix now for the premium.
Yeah,
Netflix.
so for you, the choice would probably be that.
The only issue is other people use my Netflix, so it's not just a case of me cancelling it. I'm cancelling it for.
Don't say that. Netflix will come for you.
Well, no, I want the separate accounts. I know, but the thing is, I pay for people to be able to do that. Like, I've
Netflix use mine. Other people use mine as well.
But that's fine. Like Netflix are fine with it if you're paying for premium.
Yeah.
Their issue is if you're on the standard account and you've got 5 people using one account. But yeah, no.
Yeah, next price hike, I was like, I don't know about this.
But I definitely think, knowing Netflix, they're gonna go down. I would have thought. And the problem is, what Netflix I don't think they anticipated is all the studios like Paramount, HBO, Discovery,
all flooding the market.
They've all done their own. They're all like, well, actually.
And what they're doing as well, which I know we said Netflix want to move into their own thing, but what they've done when they do their own, like Peacock, like HBO, like Paramount, is they're going, well, they're on. We're not going to give you the rights to the shows because they're on ads.
Like, if you're Paramount and you own the library of Star Trek, which is fucking huge to a huge portion of people, why would you sell that off? If you can charge people £6 a month to watch Star Trek on your platform,
why would you take 6p a month to give it to Netflix?
Exactly. But I don't think Netflix anticipated that. I think they anticipated people seeing the money initially and being like, well, these guys are doing all the hard work, so we'll just give it to them.
No, I think they must have anticipated that. I don't know, maybe that was it. Maybe they wanted to, like we said, it does lose money. They wanted to draw people in and take money out of other... I don't know. I don't know I can't wrap my head around it.
No. The only way it makes sense to me is that I believe what their original plan was, which was to just have exclusive.
If you're making a business, if you're running a business, the aim
is to make money.
So sooner or later, you'd have to have a plan in place to move towards profitability. They don't have a plan in place, from what I can see, to move towards profitability.
20-30-year plan.
Yeah, like how long do you keep bleeding money before you just?
And then that makes you question, like, the stock market. How does finance work if a company that big can lose that amount of money year on year on year on year, and they're fine? Their stock price isn't plummeting. They're not going out of business right now.
Yeah. Don't know. It has baffling. Yeah, it's a really odd thing, Netflix.
Guys, I mean, I feel like that's a pod.
It's a decent pod. I think we've gone on along. We've covered a lot.
Yeah, and I didn't expect to cover. Again, I like it when that happens though, because there's episodes where I come in and I'm like,
we haven't got enough.
I don't really. Yeah, but basically, like, we're going to get through it, but I don't know how it's going to go, and then it always goes fine. So I don't know why I worry, but I do.
Well, your pretty little head.
Thank you. But guys, let us know what you think. I can't remember what we've talked about now. We've talked about a lot. Do you think Jacob Rees-Mogg is a nice man, or do you think he's just a broken clock and he happens to be right at this point? But just talk to us in general. We need comments. We need likes. Some of you are being amazing and dropping us some comments. People are encouraging you to do drugs, by the way.
Are they?
After the last episode.
What did I say?
No, I said I don't think you should try weed because you said you had bad memory. and people have been saying you should absolutely try weed.
Wow, people do not like me.
Well, no, I just think it's good shit, so you should try it. So I've heard.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, I wouldn't
Allegedly.
know. But guys, please get in contact with us. You can do it at all sorts of places. You can do it on Twitter at Swords Crossing. Yeah. On Facebook at Crossing Swords, on Instagram and TikTok at CrossingSwords_podcast. You can email us at crossingswords19@gmail.com. And if you want to see our beautiful faces and not just hear our dulcet tones, you can find us on YouTube by searching Crossing Swords Podcast, or if you go into the audio description of every episode.
I think I just vogued.
You did just vogue. If you go into the description of every audio episode, that's a better way to phrase it, you will find the link to our YouTube
How did you phrase? I won't remember anyway. There's no point you saying is it?
I did the words in reverse. So I was like, audio description, you'll find. And it was like, no, you find a description in the audio episode. So I corrected myself.
Yeah, the audio description is for deaf people.
Yeah,
it's like,
and we don't do that. We don't care about deaf people.
Jake is voguing.
Well, they're deaf. They wouldn't hear that.
Oh, it's for the blind people.
We need to be massive.
It's for the blind people. It's for the blind people. I'm thinking
of. For the blind people, yeah. Deaf people.
It's the Stevie Wonders of this world.
Yeah.
And other blind people. Do you think it's easier to make it in the world, like celebrity world and industries, as blind or deaf? Because you see far more blind people than deaf people.
Definitely easier to be blind, I reckon. Because deaf, you can't talk to people. You can, but most people don't speak sign language. Do you know what I mean? So you're limited to who you can interact with, whereas if you're blind, you can still converse with people. You just can't see them. If anything, it probably makes it easier because, like, if someone's got a deformity or something, you don't know. Do you know what I mean? You can be perfectly polite to them and not stare.
Suddenly get their soul like, oh, God.
Do you know what I mean? Like, Stevie Wonder has never been rude to anybody. He's never stared at a woman's tits. Do you know what I mean? He's been a perfect gentleman his whole life.
So we know.
Yeah. Well, if you watch the James Corden carpool karaoke.
How good would it be, though, if he was just like, he's like, baby, I want you to point my head in the direction of your tits.
I just want to stare at him.
I want to feel like I'm staring at him.
Yeah.
Show me
How
the honeys.
must your life be if you've never seen boobs? I don't even want to contemplate it.
I get to see him every day. Every morning when I get up in the mirror.
Stop putting yourself down. You've got a lovely physique.
Okay, I'll get me top off. I mean, I know that's obviously where you were heading.
After pod, bro. I can already see your nipples.
Can you?
I can, actually. But guys, we'll see you next week.
Click onto YouTube if you want to see my nipples.
Yeah, and you can see them.
They're there. They're like.
I might have to censor them when I edit the pod.
Please do.
Yeah.
And just for one little clip, just a little.
I don't know how to do that.
What do I pay you for?
You don't pay me.
Understandable. Have a good day, sir.
Goodbye, folks.
Bye.